I often remind myself of all the beautiful things I can do for myself, things that make me happy, things that I can do alone. And they're all small things, but I feel like they add so much value to my life. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about slow living and soft living and things you can do as an act of kindness for yourself. One of the things that I want to focus on next year, especially because it's almost the end of the year, is I want to focus more on doing things with intention and stop multitasking. So I have always been a big multitasker. When I work out, I multitask. When I do the dishes, I multitask. And I think it's because we always feel the need to be productive, but sometimes it's just better to let yourself breathe and think and not try and do multiple things at once. For example, when you do something with your hands, like the dishes or embroidery, drawing, a craft, it doesn't matter. When you do something with your hands, I've noticed that I find a lot of value in letting my mind rest and listen to my own thoughts. Because when you, for example, listen to something on YouTube while you're working with your hands, you do not allow yourself to breathe and to think. And this is something that I really struggle with because I always feel the need to be productive. So I want to spend some more time inside my own mind. Also, I want to go on more walks in nature. And one of the things, like I was recently reading The Rhine by Victor Hugo, and this is kind of like a travel log essay. And the way he was describing things really made me want to try it for myself. Because, people often struggle with finding things to journal about. Everyone wants to start a journal, but they don't know what to write or where to start. And I think a travel journal opens up a lot of possibilities. Let me read you a section of The Rhine by Victor Hugo, just to give you an example of how he did it. On leaving the church, which almost adjoins the fields, I walked round the town. The sun had just set behind the wooded and cultivated hill, which was a volcanic mass out of the memory of history, and is now a basaltic quarry of millstone. And then he's talking about some wall. He says, I traced out a ditch along these walls, against which the peasants pitched their huts, and find shelter for their cabbages and carrots against the northern blast. The noble city, though dismantled, still exhibits 14 round or square towers, used at present as dwellings for the poor, and so on and so on. Now, I wish I had saved the best passages, but at the time I didn't know that I was going to talk about travel journaling. But yes, this really inspired me as I was reading that I want to try this for myself. Traveling or going on a walk with a journal and just describing what you see. That seems like a very interesting idea. I also want to take more time to set the table for myself, by which I mean have a slow breakfast in the morning and set the table for myself as if I were expecting company. Or set the table for a study session, have my candles, my notebooks, and my reading material with me, and just do very long reading vs. study sessions. I would also like to look into gardening inside. So I want to keep some herbs and plants inside. I'll have to do some research for that, but I don't know yet. Mint will be great. And of course, the plants cannot be poisonous for cats, so I have to be careful for that as well. I had to get rid of all of my houseplants because my kitty Dea, she loves nibbling things and so I had to get rid of them, and my mom has all my plants now, but I would like to keep some herbs on the windowsill. Something that you also may want to try is to write a letter to someone that you love. Could be for a birthday or just because, but it's a really nice ritual, and I'm sure that there are people in your life who deserve and would appreciate something handwritten by you. If you enjoy drinking tea or coffee, it may be fun to also make that turn that into some kind of ritual. Do some research on how you can hand brew your coffee, look up the perfect temperatures for each kind of tea that you drink, and really enjoy the process of creating a warm cup of comfort. It may be very silly, but whenever I make myself a cup of tea, I try to see it as something really, I try to make it something really special, and I pay attention to the smell of the tea and the sound of the pouring water over the leaves, and just simply picking my mug for the day. And it makes me really happy. It's a very small thing, but yes, it's a nice ritual. Now, let's talk about reading, because I'm a huge book nerd, and I especially love slow reading. Not reading as many books as you can every year, but really thinking and reflecting on what you've read, journaling about it, discussing it if you can. And I just like getting the most I can out of a book. There is no use in rushing through the pages. And if you feel like you're rushing, maybe you're not enjoying the book, don't feel bad turning to another book and giving up, because life is too short to read books that you do not enjoy. Just use the book that you are reading to improve yourself, to reflect on things, to work on yourself, to get to know yourself better, and of course to get to know other people as well. We are being thrown into so many situations when we are reading a book, situations that we will never live through as well, and you think about things that you never would think about otherwise. I also love my Commonplace books, and if you haven't tried it already, then maybe you should give it a try. I have some videos on Commonplacing on my channel if you want to look further into that. But basically, Commonplace book is a collection of things that you want to keep. So some people keep one Commonplace book, and all of the things that they want to remember and keep go into that one book. Recipes, quotes from novels, everything that you want to keep. Now, the issue with that is that it can be a little bit chaotic. You'll have to use an index, you'll have to number your pages, otherwise you won't be able to find something very quickly. And that is why I keep multiple Commonplace books on certain topics. You could, for example, keep one on your favorite book quotes, a favorite author, recipes, period in history that you want to learn about. It can be anything, and it's really nice to have a notebook on a specific topic. Something else that I recently realized is that as a teenager, I often listened to music without doing anything else. I just sat with my headphones and my disc, like it was with CDs. Where's the time, right? And so I would just pop in a CD and I would listen to music, and that is something that I never do anymore. I think I will be trying this out soon, to just lie down and listen to a little bit of music that I like and really listen. And this is something that I would like to try again. Just lay down and listen without doing anything else and focusing fully on the music. Another pastime that you could try out is to visit a museum. Take pictures of all the artworks that inspire you and that you love. And don't forget to make a picture of the descriptions as well, because when you get home, you won't know what it is. And then you can make a collage of all the paintings, do some research about them, get to know more about the art that you saw. Another lovely pastime is to translate a poem. And this is especially nice if you are learning a language. You could also recite the poem aloud. You could read a novel or a part of a novel aloud to yourself or to your cats. It could also be a short story or an essay, whatever you prefer. But I think it's a very calming thing. What I also would like to do more, by the way, is to learn poetry by heart and just go on walks with a poem and try to memorize it. Same goes for my favorite quotes from my favorite books. I want to be able to recite them by heart. Also, when you are consuming something, for example, a movie, try to give it your full attention. And something that I've been doing recently is pausing my movies to write down quotes. Let me give you an example. So I'm currently watching That Poet Society, and yes, I say currently because I often put on a movie and then I get distracted and want to read. And so it's because I love reading more than watching a movie. And so I always get sidetracked and I want to read. And so I end up watching a movie in like 10 sittings. But anyway, I was pausing the movie to note down some quotes, and here are some of them. No matter what anyone tells you, words and ideas can change the world. Let's do a second one. We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race, and the human race is filled with passion. I always feel more reluctant to pause a movie than to put down my book to write down a quote. I don't know why that is, but I am trying my best to pause movies more often. There can be some beautiful dialogue in there as well, and I feel like it's such a pity to not write things down. So yes, that's what I started doing as well. I try to watch with more intention and pay attention to just beautiful dialogue. Let me know about your calming rituals and gentle pastimes in the comments. I would love to know, and I hope to see you next week.